What's going on, Giants fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Giant Topic Podcast. We're going to jump straight into it. We are going to be doing a watch party for the John Harbaugh press conference, the introductory press conference. I think today's going to be a good one. Let's tune in right now and let's see how everything goes.
My dad taught me that they were the New York Football Giants. They were just the Giants, they were the New York Football Giants, right, Dad? All the way back. One of the most iconic franchises in all of sports. I wanted this job. I think I told you that, Mr. Mayor. I wanted this job. And to be on the biggest stage in the biggest sport. I know the challenges. I understand the expectations. I know the fans are hungry for a winner. We're here with one mission: to earn the right to be called the world champions in New York. And that's what we plan to do.
Absolutely. We need more wins in New York.
I can introduce my wife, Ingrid. I told you, now you're not coming up on the stage. No, you can just say hi. My wife, Ingrid. Yeah. Our daughter, Allison, she couldn't be here. She's at law school trying to survive right now, so she couldn't make it. She had class today. And my mom and dad, Jack and Jackie, are here. Thanks for being here, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad taught us to attack this day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, right? We learned that. And that's what we're going to do every single day. Jim and Joni, hey, out there. Jim, we're not in the AFC, Jim. You can breathe easy. But thank you to the mayor and the Tisch families who I had a chance to meet today.
Stacey, what's going on? Appreciate you joining the chat. Thank you.
Always had tremendous respect for these two families, starting with John Merritt at the owners' meetings and all the competition committee meetings. We'd have all these conversations, and it goes way back. I thank them for their confidence and their partnership in this quest to build up our football team. Everyone involved, starting with John, Steve, Julia Koch, who I had a chance to meet today and talk to a little bit more. Chris Mara was a big part of this. Joe Shane, so many conversations, Joe. Thanks. Just great getting to know you and the great football man that you are. Everybody in the organization has just been great. To the Ravens, I'd like to extend a profound thank you to Steve and Ozzie for the opportunity, for the guidance that they provided every single day, to all the players and coaches who have been unrelenting brothers all along the way through the years. We did great things. Thanks, guys. But now as we begin a new chapter in New York, our focus is simple. It starts with building a team that is physical and tough, that's capable of overwhelming their opponent from beginning to end, and especially at the end, that understands how to finish, that is smart and disciplined, that plays the game the way it should be played, and that everybody watching it, including those playing it, will be proud of. We're going to work together. We got great and talented people to accomplish a shared mission. It'll be a relentless commitment to this organization, to the city, and the fans to do things the right way every single day. Nothing will be taken for granted. It will always, always be all about the team. The team, the team, the team. Thanks, Dad, for that. It'll always be about that. Now it's time to go to work. So with that, what questions do you have? Who's in charge of the questions here?
Hope it ain't Joe Shane, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thanks.
I'm Andrew Rosario, New York Beacon News. 2 questions. After 18 years of being a head coach, did you consider taking time off before getting back into the fire? And as you look at this roster, can you tell the fans that they're ready to go to the next level and get to the playoffs?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. As far as taking some time off, I figured I didn't have enough time to take time off. There's no time for that. So just couldn't wait to get back to work. That was never a question, really. Ingrid and I talked about it. Ingrid's ready to go, too. So we're fired up, and it had to be the right opportunity. This was kind of the obvious one from the beginning. This was the one, like I said, I wanted. And I wanted it because of that very thing you just talked about. We have an opportunity to go win, you know, and I like these players, man. I had a chance to watch tape. I like the way they play. I like their style. I like how physical and how tough they are. And I know they want to be successful and they want to go to work. So absolutely, we can do that, and that's our plan to do that. The plan is to win every game. I mean, one game at a time. You go into every game planning to win that game. That's our expectation. That's what we will be expecting to do that. But we've got to earn the right to expect that by how we go to work and prepare and what kind of a team that we make ourselves into.
Hey, John, Connor Hughes, SNY. How much of a role did Jackson Dart play in your desirability for this job, and what do you believe he's capable of long term?
Right. Well, it's a great question because, the quarterback's kind of important. That's kind of a big deal. And I'm excited about Jackson Dart, and I've seen your backup quarterback too, Jameis, up close and personal 2 years ago. So I saw him complete a bunch of passes. Yeah, I know. There you go. I saw you. I had oh my. Remember that game,
Got a lot of people there.
It's a great game.
Definitely.
For you. And so it starts with the quarterback for sure. I mean, the quarterback has got to, you build your team around your quarterback. I mean, you build your team around your players and what they do well. And I like the way he plays. I mean, I like his talent, skill set, all the things he's accomplished. But more than that, I like who he is and what he's about. And to me, he's about football. I mean, this young guy loves football. He wants to talk football all the time. And, and that's kind of what I like doing too. So I think we're going to have a lot of great conversations. And I can't wait to get started with him.
John, Mike Garofalo, NFL Network. Through the process, you had a chance to spend a lot of time and talk to Joe Shane a lot, the guy who just introduced you here. What was it about your interactions with him that led you to believe there's going to be great collaboration and cooperation here? No question, Mike. Probably the conversations themselves is what led me to believe there would be great collaboration. I mean, obviously you get to know Joe and we start talking ball and you see he's a football man. This is a guy that this guy lives and breathes football. His knowledge is deep. He knows the league. He knows the coaches in the league. He knows the players in the league. Probably knows all the scouts in the league too, I'll bet, he was impressive to me. And it was just really a joy to talk football and then really dig into some of the plans that we might have going forward, see what we can build here. So I was impressed, very impressed.
Probably soon, Aaron.
Hello.
Probably soon.
Jackson Thompson, Fox News. Welcome.
Hey, Jackson.
Several days before you were hired, President Trump put out a post advocating for you to become the next head coach of the Giants. How does it feel knowing the President of the United States has endorsed you for the job you're about to undertake?
It feels really great. And I'll tell you, I also noticed on that post that he said, and John, take the job. So I thought that John Mara might have something to do with that. I don't know, but it's cool. And it's sports, it's sports. And everybody's excited. Everybody follows it at every level. People follow football. They follow the Giants. They follow the National Football League. Like we said, it's the biggest sport, And this is the most iconic franchise in the biggest sport. So here we are.
John, Ryan Dunleavy from the New York Post. What are you looking for in your coordinators and your position coaches, and when will those interviews start, including anybody who is retained on staff?
Right. Well, we'll start tomorrow with the interviews. Obviously, great coaches, I believe, on this staff that we're looking forward to talking to people all across the league, talking to people in Baltimore, obviously, too. We're going to try to build the very best. We will build the very best coaching staff that we can. I'll tell you, it'll be a great coaching staff. But my dad always said it starts with teachers. Coaches are teachers first. The ability to teach, the ability to take a vision that's well organized, a structure that's put together in a really good way that the players can play fast, play around their skill set. You got to create something like that and then present it to the guys and train it in a way that the guys can get out there and play with a lot of confidence, just cut it loose and play fast. And that's what we're going to try to do and try to bring a bunch of coaches in there that are capable of building that. We're going to do that.
Bruce Beck, NBC4 New York. John, how do you build a winning culture? And how long will it take for this team to win?
That's the second part's impossible to say, but I'm planning on day one. So that's what we'll be shooting for. That's what we'll be working for, and fully expect it to happen. You build anything together. You build it from the inside out. It's going to be a reflection. Culture is kind of a crazy word. What does it really mean? It's a worldview. It's a shared understanding. It's a vision. It's everybody being on the same page. It's talking the same language, all these kind of things, same values, same type of beliefs, right? Okay, that's like a social studies class, maybe we're talking here. So what is it in football? It's a bunch of guys that see the game the same way. It's a bunch of guys that want to play the game together the same way. It's a relentless brotherhood, having each other's back, being unwilling to give up because that guy next to you is unwilling to give up. You know, all these things that these guys believe in. We'll decide what the culture looks like together every single day by what we do together, all right? And that's how you build it together.
Tom. Hey, John, Tom Rock from Newsday. How are you? One of your early mentors was Andy Reid, who has gone on to have a pretty successful second act in his career.
Pretty fair.
I'm sure you've spoken to him. What were some of the tips and maybe advice he gave to you about changing from one organization to another and finding that success?
Andy's a man of few words, and his 4 words to me were, change can be good. That's what he said. Change can be good. And he was excited. He's fired up for us. He's a good friend. And yeah, we'll try to do. You know what? How about we do this? How about we deal that right now? We'll sign up for that deal right now. What he did in Kansas City. Let's do that. Yeah.
Hey, John.
Not a
Paul
bad
Schwartz
option
with the
there.
New York Post. You mentioned coming in here that New York feels different and is different. You want everything in Baltimore. Obviously, you want a Super Bowl. What is your sense of New York and what it's going to be like for you and possibly winning here in New York?
Well, I mean, the skyline's a lot different. You know, I noticed that right away. You know, no 2 places are ever the same. You know, no 2 people are the same. You know, obviously you meet people in places and circumstances where you find them. So that's what we're going to do. You know, we're going to take every one of those things we meet head on and do the best we can with it every single day. And, you know, you say you do the best you can with it every single day. Well, that means a lot when you really think about what that means. I mean, are we really doing our best? Are we really putting everything we have into it for this day? Are we really attacking the day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind? Another level? Is that possible? Is that something that we can accomplish? Can we have the best meeting and the best practice in the history of the National Football League? Can we? We can if we decide to, right, guys? We can if we decide to. You know, and when you do that day by day, you build something, you take it onto the field, and you let the chips fly, and you go play some ball.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, John. Art Stapleton from the Bergen Record and NorthJersey.com. Just curious, you obviously 18 years ago, you had a vision, and 18 years later, I'm sure you have that same vision, but I'm curious, from what you learned, do you come here knowing that the path can be different, and how much of that vision has changed through the years of what you want to do and how you build a champion?
Well, one of the things you learn a lot. One of the things is this, that they're principles, right? And the principles of the vision you're talking about, that's that word, are written in stone. They're football principles. They're self-evident truths. They aren't going to ever change. Those are things that you carry with you through 18 years or 42 years or whatever it is. You carry those principles with you. You learn what they are, and they're non-compromised. They can't be. They have to happen. The methods, you know, those things are like drawn in the dirt. You know, you're drawing up a play. Come on, guys. Here's what we're going to do, and you draw it in the dirt. You got to keep those things moving. Play calls, defensive schemes, blitz patterns, how you lift weights, how you train, whatever, how you practice. Practices have changed a lot, haven't they, over the years? They've changed a ton. So all those things are all going to change as we go. So those things, 18 years and 40-some years, they've all evolved and changed and grown, and they'll continue to change every single day. So understand those 2 things, principles and methods, and try to merge them the best you can to try to win the next game. Keep it simple. Try to win the next game, and that's what we'll try to do.
Good answer.
Hey, John. Pat Leonard from the New York Daily News. What qualities do you prioritize in the players that you acquire and that will play for you for the New York Giants?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of qualities that go into it. I mean, Joe's got lists and lists of qualities for all different positions and all that you'd be looking for. But to me, the number one thing is we have to have guys that love football. I mean, you just have to. It's football. What are we here for? You know, what do we do? What is this building for? It's for football. You know, this is a football team, and we need guys that love everything about football. They love the games. They love the practices. They love the weightlifting. They love the meetings. They love the dining hall. You know, they love every part of football, man. And if you love football, guys, if you love football, you're going to want to be here. You're going to want to drive in that parking lot every single day. You're going to want to walk through those doors. You want to walk up in those halls. You're going to want to get in front of that tape and watch tape every single day, because you're going to be around a bunch of guys that love what you love. They love football, because that's what we're going to be doing, football, all the time, every day. And if there's guys, you know, around that don't love football, Joe, we're probably going to let those guys go play somewhere else, you know, because if you don't love football, you're not going to love it here, because we'll be doing football. That's the plan. All right.
Let's go.
John, congratulations. Ian O'Connor with The Athletic. Just trying to sustain winning over the long term is probably the hardest thing to do in a league built on parity. But is there a common thread that ran through your 18 years in Baltimore, whether it was physicality or something else that you think you could apply here that's sort of mandatory to have the same kind of success?
Well, I mean, we'll see. To me, it goes back to every single day. I mean, you just never know what the next day is going to bring. And you got to understand that that it's really not about what you face. You know, sometimes the triumphs are much more dangerous than the trials. Sometimes the good times are the things that you got to be more wary of than the tough times. So we've got to do a great job of handling all the circumstances in the best possible way to keep it simple and keep in mind what's important. It's even as much as I'm sure the guys love all the media. They love all you guys being around probably every single day, right? You know, it's really great. But, you know, but we got to keep it about football. So we want to do our jobs and be respectful of all the opportunities that come with that. But really what it boils down to is let's attack this day with an enthusiasm, and let's get ready for the next challenge that's in front of us, whether it's OTA practice or, you know, we got squat day tomorrow, you know, got to be great. Got to have a great squat day. You know, whatever it might be, we got to be ready to roll. So I think that's probably the thread that runs through those 18 years, just kind of taking that mindset every day and everybody believing in it. And then being, you know, it's how you play. And when that tape comes on, that tape is going to last forever. And you're going to want to be proud of what you see. So you got to make a decision and a choice beforehand. How am I going to play? What's that tape going to look like? It's not about whether you make the play. Well, it is whether you win or lose. Ultimately, whether you make the play or don't make the play, we know that because it's a player's game. But what you can decide on is how you're going to play. How hard am I going to play? How physical am I going to play? How much are you going to be locked into my assignment, okay, to try to do things the right way, my footwork, my technique, try to win my battle. Am I willing to finish the play? Am I going to run all the way to the ball, all right, and then arrive there in a real bad attitude and make a statement when I get there? Am I willing to do that every single play? I don't have to decide, oh, maybe he'll make the tackle. I don't have to run over there. No. You put your foot in the ground, you start running, right? That's what great defenses do. So that's it. I mean, that's to me, those two things. If you do that, then you have a chance. All right, then you have a chance, and you go let the chips fly.
Absolutely.
Steve Wino, Associated Press. John, you mentioned good conversations with Joe during this process. What's it like to sort of get to know and work with a new person after 18 years somewhere else? And what do you expect that sort of relationship to be on a day-to-day basis? Yeah, I expect it to be phenomenally great. I think it's going to be incredible. I really do. I mean, I already know because we've had a chance to start talking to each other. But you work with new people all the time. But, you know, Joe's been around the National Football League for years and years. He's got a tremendous amount of experience. I'm going to be leaning on him, and he's going to be leaning on me. We're going to be leaning on everybody around us, right? And it's not just it's not just us. I mean, it's a whole organization. We're going up the chain. We've got incredible experience all the way up to the very top here. All right, in different areas. And John Mara, nobody knows more about this league, right? So we'll be working, whatever it might be. It's X's and O's, it's strategic planning, it's the draft, it's free agency, it's contracts. People all through the building that are just incredibly talented people. So the idea is let's work together. All right, let's work together every single day and let's build something great.
You taking notes, Joe Shane?
Hey, John, Jordan Ronan from ESPN. I'm curious, when you did a lot of research and background on the roster before you got here, like the last few weeks, what did you see when you looked at the roster?
I see a lot of really good players when I look at the roster. Really, well, not the roster so much as the tape. That's where you look. You look at the tape. You know, that's what shows you, right, guys? It shows you. It's on the tape. So I look at the tape, and I see a lot of good football players, and not just me, my dad. All right. So he calls me up about 3 days into this process, and he goes, "You watch the Giants?" I'm like, "Yeah, I watch them. I watch them." He goes, "You see the way they come off the ball on offense? You see that offensive line? You see that offense? See those guys? You see that quarterback? You know, you see that defense? See that front? You see those guys flying around back there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I saw it. So when my dad told me, I knew it was true. We have a chance. We have a chance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, John, Dan Duggan from The Athletic. A big change with your arrival is having the head coach report directly to ownership. Just curious, why was that something that was important to you?
Well, you know, to me, it's really not that important in the big picture and big scheme of things. I think it's kind of overblown just a little bit in terms of how it works. But the main thing is that it works, and that we work together. That's what matters. So that's kind of what I was used to. And it felt like a good way to kind of start off. And I think Mr. Mara was happy about that. It seemed like it made sense. And I'm just happy. But I don't think it really matters. I think we're all going to work together. And I promise you, we all report to the boss, right? And the boss is ownership. And John Mara is running football operations here, and he's running it. And I'm glad he is. And that's also all the families and everybody involved. That's where it starts. And we respect that, right, Joe? And we want our bosses to be happy. We want them to be smiling and happy. We want them to know we're trying to do things the right way every single day. And that's what matters. All the other stuff is just.
Oh, looks like we got a lag. Let's see.
All the other stuff is just, that's a great question. It means everything. I mean, I have the most amazing wife and the most incredible daughter, and it's just the three of us,
All right. Sorry about that, chat. Sorry about that,
three
chat.
Ps in a pod. That's what we call ourselves. And it's just incredible. We've been together for a long, long time. And, this profession is crazy. I mean, it's, you live a lifetime in a season in the National Football League. It's the things that you go through, the ups and the downs and the emotional roller coaster and the conversations and challenges. These players can tell you. Everybody that works here can tell you that. It's that. And it's not just you. It's your family. Your wife is with you every step of the way and more, because she'll tell me, you're not out there. You're not out there hearing it every single day. You get to go to your office and you don't have to listen to anything, right? You've said that to me. She's out there. She's fighting. She's out there fending them off. And so I appreciate that. I got to fight her for a wife, and you better, So no, it's been what it is, and it's been great because it just because of who we are together. So very 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 proud of that. Very happy with that.
Sorry, John. Joe Messeri, Pix 11. Congratulations again here. The NFL's a league where we see teams go worst to first all the time. Plenty of evidence this year. Is there a similar characteristic you see among those teams that that manage to have those big turnarounds from one year to the next? And what do you see here that indicates that?
Well, that's a great question, and it's probably something that maybe I should take a look at. We'll do some kind of study. We got all these analytics guys, so we'll have them do a study on that. But to me, I see the teams that play really good. That's what I see, and the teams that play really good have a lot of common denominators, and we've been talking about those things throughout the course of this press conference. So that's what we're going to be chasing. It's going to be about how we play. It's going to be about us every single day, just becoming as good as we can be. If we're going to be in coverage, we need to be square. Our eyes need to be where it's supposed to be. We need to be doing things the right way. So whatever it is, let's do it the right way and see how good we can get.
This team will be disciplined for sure.
Coach, we're all set.
All right, great. Thank you very much. It's an honor. Thanks a lot.
And there we have it, the John Harbaugh introductory press conference. Whew. Let's get this off the screen real quick. Hold on. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, there really wasn't much that I felt like he said that was how do I say? I don't think he really said anything that we didn't really expect John Harbaugh to say. We know that John Harbaugh is a leader amongst men. We know that John Harbaugh is going to have this team ready week in and week out. We know that these guys are going to be physical, and we know that there's going to be a no-nonsense, feel to this organization. I kind of liked how, when they were talking about reporting to John Mara, and John Harbaugh looks to Joe Shane and says, "Right, Joe?" And it's like, I don't know about you guys, but that kind of felt like a little jab a little bit to Joe Shane. I know maybe I'm just reading into it a little bit, but I thought that was a pretty solid press conference by John Harbaugh. Pretty quick. I'm seeing here we've only been live for like 24 minutes, and I think about 3 minutes of that we were talking. So yeah, nothing too crazy, but very exciting times for sure for the New York Giants, for the New York Giants fans, when you're able to land a guy like John Harbaugh. And you could tell, even though obviously most of us, I would say a good 98 to 99% of us watching this are not there. You can feel the energy. You can feel the buzz just from watching the video. And that's very exciting. Now, I know that there's going to be some fans that say, well, we felt this way when we hired Brian Dable. We felt this way when we hired Joe Shane. I think this is different. I don't think this is necessarily the same thing. I think that with John Harbaugh, it's definitely different. And, I think this Giants team, they're going to be fun to watch this year. I think they're going to be very fun to watch this year. And when you set expectations for wanting to compete for the playoffs next year, when you set expectations for wanting to compete for Super Bowls, that should be the expectation, especially for a fifth-year general manager. That should absolutely be the expectation here. So, me personally, like I said, I thought that was a pretty solid press conference by John Harbaugh. I wish the offseason for the New York Giants in terms of free agency and obviously the draft was here. We're going to have some time, until that happens, but very exciting. I think he looks good. I think he looks good in Giants blue. We saw the pictures the other day where John Harbaugh and Joe Shane and John Harbaugh's wife are walking into the building and it's all smiles, walking past the Lombardis. You already know that John Harbaugh is wanting to put a fifth Lombardi in that trophy case. And I know a lot of Giants fans, if not all Giants fans, want the absolute same. So, definitely very exciting. For someone who prior to the John Harbaugh hiring, I wasn't the biggest advocate for John Harbaugh. I know a lot of people know that at this point. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see, the turnaround for this organization because it's long overdue. I think we can all agree that it is long overdue for this organization. Just a decade plus of mediocrity, a decade plus of being one of the worst teams in the entire NFL, being a joke in the NFL, to now being a respectable organization again in terms of the win-loss column. Obviously, in terms of respectability, there are people that say, why would they want to come to the Giants? Look at their records throughout the years. Look at, the poor play on the field, this, that, and the third. Okay, granted, at the end of the day, this is still the New York Football Giants. This is still a team that is highly respected throughout the entire NFL, whether it's through players, whether it's through coaches, whether it's through ownership, general managers, it doesn't matter. This is the New York Football Giants. So, I'm just, I'm pumped. I'm pumped after watching that presser. It makes me want to run through a wall. And I think with John Harbaugh, like I said, these guys are going to fight. These guys are going to be ready week in and week out. And one thing that I really am excited for with this Giants team is the discipline, right? We know that there was players being vocal that they wanted someone like, Tom Coughlin in the building. Well, now you're getting someone, as my dog is in the background, now you're getting someone who is going to establish that. You have someone that is a culture changer. You have someone that is going to demand respect and demand the best out of each and one of these players. And you heard John Harbaugh say it himself. He said, if you do not love football, you are not going to last long here. He said to Joe Shane, Joe, we're going to let those guys play for other teams, and I think that's the right approach because I think that there are going to be a lot of guys who at first are going to be like, yeah, we're here for this. We're here for, the toughness. We're here, for the discipline that John Harbaugh is going to bring. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's going to be some, surprise cuts or players that are, traded that we weren't necessarily expecting to be traded that don't fall in line with that. So for me personally, I think it's exciting times to be a New York Giants fan. I think it's exciting, to see where this organization is going to go. This organization for the better half of a decade has had no direction. They have been misguided. They've made critical errors that have set this franchise back for years. You guys don't need me to tell you that. If you're a Giants fan, you already know this to be true. So me personally, and I'm sure you as well, again, not to sound like a broken record, but it's very exciting times, right? Get pumped. Get pumped that John Harbaugh is your new head coach. Now, we'll see what happens with the coordinators, right? Obviously, there's been speculation that Todd Monken is going to join the New York Giants as an OC. That hasn't been confirmed yet. We know that he just did a second round of interviews with the Cleveland Browns for the head coaching vacancy. So we'll see how that goes. But in terms of defensive coordinators, I have full trust that John Harbaugh is going to hire the right guy. And same with the offensive coordinators as well. I think when you're a head coach in this league for 18 years, your web in terms of resources in the coaching space is wide. It's a lot wider than a lot of these other coaches that were in the head coaching carousel, right? So I have a lot of confidence in John Harbaugh, and I think ultimately, it's going to be a collaboration with John Harbaugh having the final say, which it should be, right? You wanted a CEO, you wanted someone that was proven, you wanted someone that was established, right? Well, this is what comes with it, and this is something that the Giants have not had in quite some time. Let's get to this comment here. This is from Hey, get it. I sorry if I can't pronounce the name. He says we're going places in the next 5 years for sure. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, man. For once, this team feels like it's genuinely heading in the right direction. For once, it feels like this team has an identity. Right now, obviously, we'll see what happens in free agency. We'll see what happens with obviously the draft. But I think for right now, though, I think this team is heading in the right direction. Going out there, getting the best head coach that was on the market. I think that ensures that. Now, I do think, and I would love to hear what you guys think. I do think in terms of where this puts this team next year, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think they have the edge over Washington. I don't want to say they closed the gap technically with the Dallas Cowboys. I think that they have more firepower offensively. Their defense leaves a lot to be desired, but they're still going to be the Dallas Cowboys. But I don't think they're as far apart as some people make it seem. This New York Giants team, they have foundational pieces. They have pieces on both sides of the ball that you could really build around, whether that's Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboom, Malik Neighbors, Andrew Thomas. If they retain Jermaine Illuminor, that's definitely a foundational piece in my eyes. You go to the defensive side, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, hopefully Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. I've kind of changed my tune on Bobby Okereke. I think it actually makes a ton of sense to keep him. Maybe you restructure his contract. Maybe you play out, the last year of his contract. We'll see. But I think there are foundational pieces. You could throw in Cordell Flott too. So, like John Harbaugh said, there are good pieces on this team. He was excited watching, the film on a lot of these players on this Giants roster, as he should be, despite the horrendous season that this New York Giants team just suffered, right? Back-to-back horrendous seasons. This year there was definitely a lot of positives that you could take away, right? Or at least that gives you hope, right? And the biggest one being the quarterback position with Jackson Dart. And for me, I think that's the number one thing that I'm excited for, especially if you bring in Todd Monken. If you're able to bring in Todd Monken and you're able to really enhance the development of Jackson Dart, I think that'll do wonders for this organization in ways that we haven't seen since Tom Coughlin and Eli Manning. So definitely pumped, definitely very excited, to see, what this organization does next. Obviously, it's going to come down to the coordinators. I'm hoping, I think a lot of Giants fans are hoping that John Harbaugh and this front office retains Carmen Brashillo, offensive line coach. I think it would be a mistake to let him walk out the door. He has solved, if not outside of the quarterback issue, the biggest issue that has plagued the New York Football Giants since the last time they won the Super Bowl, and that's been the offensive line. So for me personally, it's going to be hard for me to see him go if he does go, while also still trusting John Harbaugh and his process. Now, in terms of, like I said, with the offensive coordinators and the defensive coordinators, I have full trust that they'll be able to hire the right guys. Now, we have C-Rest's comment here. He says, the Giants are certainly better than a lot of people think, and they are better than what their record was. It was the terrible defensive play calling that cost us multiple games in the fourth quarter. Yeah, listen, C, I think you make an excellent point, right? I think this team was a lot better than what their record states. Now, obviously, there's that cliche, saying where you are what your record is, and I get that. But seeing how many games this New York Giants team was in right? Whether it's Denver, whether it's Detroit, whether it's Dallas week 2, there's so many games that we could list off, right? This team was definitely better despite the lack of talent, especially offensively when you do have Malik Neighbors go down. You do have Cam Scatterbo go down in Philly, right? You do have a rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart. And then on top of that, you're dealing with the firing of your head coach. Just so many things went wrong. But at the same time, we could still appreciate the little positives here and there that give you hope as a fan base, as an organization that says, hey, if we can fix this, if we can get the right guys in here, we're not as far as we think we are. So, see, I definitely agree with you there. And that's what I'm saying. I'm very excited to see how this New York Giants approach the offseason, whether that's through free agency. We're going to be dropping a video either, what's today? Tuesday. So probably either tomorrow or Friday. I'm aiming for tomorrow. We'll see. Don't quote me on that because we're going to be having a video with a Ravens content creator, my boy Raven C, talking about John Harbaugh and what to expect. But either tomorrow or Friday, we're going to be having 4 Ravens free agents that I think the New York Giants should target. Now, if you follow us on X, it's kind of a little bit of a spoiler, right? I kind of put out the list there, which let me do a quick plug-in if you have not already. Follow us on all social media platforms on the Giant Topic, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, doesn't matter. We're there. You can find us. But yeah, I think this organization, they have to feel confident, having John Harbaugh. And I think one thing that kind of gets, not really talked about a lot because I think there's been a lot of resentment towards him. I got to give a lot of credit to Chris Mara, right? Him meeting with John Harbaugh, we heard that on Friday that he had met with, I believe it was Friday, that he had met with John Harbaugh in Baltimore or at a place in between Baltimore and New York to speak with John Harbaugh one last time. Chris Mara's being more involved. I think right now, obviously, with the health status of John Mara, obviously we're kind of speculating, but you hear that it's not necessarily good. They are going to have to find a successor to John Mara. Now, is that Chris Mara? We'll see. But I think Chris Mara did a phenomenal job with the process of hiring John Harbaugh. So I got to give him a lot of credit there. I don't think a lot of fans are giving him the credit that he deserves. Me personally, though, I'm intrigued to see this quote unquote collaborative effort with Joe Schoen and John Harbaugh. It's all smiles right now. We know that there was some stipulation in terms of, the language in his contracts and who he reports to. And then you heard in the press conference, John Harbaugh saying that he didn't necessarily care about that. He didn't really care about who he was reporting to. He feels that both, him and the general manager should report to ownership to make the bosses happy. I didn't want to talk while he was saying that, but I didn't necessarily buy that. At least entirely, right? I didn't fully buy that coming from John Harbaugh out of the entire press conference. That was the one where I was just kind of like, But again, what is he going to say? Yeah, I wanted all the power. He's not going to say that. So I am very intrigued to see, this relationship between the two. Now we'll see in a year from now if Joe Schoen is retained. I believe he is on the final year of his contract currently. And listen, there's a possibility where he knocks it out the draft and free agency with collaboration with John Harbaugh. And John Harbaugh says, hey, I want, my guy as the general manager. We tried this for a year. But ultimately, I want my guy as general manager. It could go left and him also say, hey, I want my guy as general manager. It could also be that Joe Schoen gets extended. Now, I know that there's a lot of Giants fans, including myself, that wanted Joe Schoen fired, and I think that it's rightfully deserved, right? Especially when you look at his resume, both in the draft, in free agency, and certain decisions that he's made in terms of this Giant roster. But I'm very intrigued to see that how this relationship plays out, because it's going to be very important, especially going forward for the New York Giants, as long as Joe Schoen is here. But I was reading tweets from certain people on the beat saying that it was a packed room, obviously filled with people from the beat, but having current and former players there. You had people from WFAN there. So definitely a packed room, understandably so. When you get a guy like John Harbaugh, you got to roll out the red carpet. But let me know what you guys think. How did you guys feel about this presser? What were some of your takeaways? I'm very intrigued, again, to see what this organization does next and the coordinators that they hire, because it's going to be important, right? But when you hire a guy like John Harbaugh, you have full confidence in his process. You have full confidence in the people that he's going to hire, and and the culture that he's going to hopefully establish with the New York Giants. So let us know your thoughts below. I think we're gonna end the stream here. We're about at 40 minutes now. We will be live later today for Unbiased Giants Show with Ryan Henderson from the Ryan's Big Blue podcast. We'll be live later today. So again, follow us on Twitter if you have not already. We post all of our updates on there at The Giant Topic. It's going to be a fun show tonight. And then again, we're going to be having a video with Ravens content creator Raven C, talking about expectations for Harbaugh from a Ravens perspective. So I think that's going to be very exciting. I think you guys are going to like that video a lot. And then again, we're going to be releasing a video this week on 4 free agents from the Baltimore Ravens that I feel like the New York Giants should attack aggressively in free agency, in my opinion. But again, let us know your thoughts below, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Be easy, guys.